Do you ever wonder how everything came into being or why? Was it chance occurrence or something done with purpose? And how do your answers to these questions determine how you look at the world and life? People have been considering these mysteries for all of recorded history, perhaps nearly as long as there have been people. Even with evidence-based science, which speculates theories based on what various techniques have taught us about the world and its beginnings, we still don't and may never with certainty know such mind-boggling truths that require much more comprehension than we have now. All this might beg another question of how we live without certainty. Yet I don't believe life is diminished with uncertainty, but enhanced.
What's that?
Ancient peoples lived with mystery, not facts. They told stories not to reveal what truly happened, but to show what could serve our lives to help us experience the divine in life, to give us meaning and purpose as we complete our journey, and to make sense of the things they knew could never be known. They were humble in their acceptance of uncertainty, and so had less concern about accurate histories and empirical evidence for their beliefs. They sought how to live life well given their circumstances, rather than defining their circumstances based on the type of life they were living. The divine was recognized as mostly knowable, yet encompassing the whole of reality, rather than as our modern and postmodern minds conceive of them as more knowable and definable. We don't perhaps honor the mystery of life like our ancestors did, but then they accepted some possibilities of the divine we may find difficult to stomach. Their idea of God was not as boxed in as ours, allowing them to think of performing actions that we would see as abusive, racist, sexist, nationalistic, etc. Ironically, though, they were more open to the divine performing contradictory actions to their character. They were more restrictive in another way. They had a more dualistic view of life, good or bad, light or darkness, right or wrong, than most progressive Christians do today. Look at how the language of those terms has even come to be seen. Interestingly, though, they had more flexibility perhaps in seeing other realities and perspectives, and engaging in substantive conversation than many today who at times avoid deep discussions about their faith with others, perhaps in fear of disagreement or judgment for others for having a different perspective. They seem to enjoy debate more than we did, and saw it not as a cause for tension or conflict, but as a means to be in community and learn from others. Perhaps most importantly, they understood that faith was faith and not certainty. This helped them to be more playful and creative with their storytelling than many who like to stick to facts, repeat what exactly happened or what they think happened, and add nothing extra. Of course, we all know some exceptions to this rule. My Uncle Ron was one. He was a real storyteller. The first time you'd hear one of his stories, you couldn't help but at least smile, if not giggle, at his wittiness in making the story funny. His timing, turn of phrase, and other humorous devices made it a joy to listen to him for as long as he spoke. My cousins, siblings, and I were all captivated by him as children. In hearing the story a second, third, or fourth time, it would only get better as he perfected his art. If you were fortunate enough to hear a particular story a fifth time, he had mastered it so well, changed as it was from the first version, that you were unable to keep from gut-wrenching belly laugh. We laughed so hard we cried because he was really good. We did also recognize that while the essence of the story may have been factual, it was the obvious embellishments that were so entertaining. Storytelling is an art, and the best storytellers can read audiences and make proper adjustments in making the stories more meaningful, educational, inspiring, or humorous. Myths are stories that point to greater truth or meaning beyond the words themselves, speaking to universal or transcendent reality that words can only approximate. Yet despite the mysterious nature of myths, they open us to understand reality far more extensively than we could if we believed they only had one meaning. They reveal multiple truths depending on the era, culture, mores, and individual life experiences of those who live them. This is one of their beauties, that they can adapt to a multitude of different circumstances. Unlike science, which attempts to define and describe reality, myth seeks to suggest reality and give understanding on how to live in accordance with reality. Science tries to be objective so as to discover the facts, but myth seeks to be empowering, regardless of the facts. Our ancestors were more concerned with nuances of words than with literal meanings. When they talked of a formless void, they were thinking in figurative terms. We might imagine a formless void to be the vacuum of space or that which lies beyond space. A formless void for them might signify a unified but undifferentiated whole, that which was simple matter without spirit or substance without life. For them, such a lifeless void was utter obscurity, perhaps even Sheol, a place of non-existence they imagined we might go when we die. When they say darkness covered the face of the deep, they not only meant it was without literal light, but was devoid of meaning, truth, purpose, insight, imagination, awe, reverence, and beauty. Morality, spirituality, politics, ontology, theology, aesthetics, and cosmology were all intertwined. The indescribable force of all existence, creator of all that has come to be, was made of spirit, which is just as unexplainable and mysterious. In the Genesis creation myth, one that mimics other creation myths in the ancient world, by the way, Ruah, the Hebrew word for spirit, also meaning wind or breath. Ruah swept over the primordial void, bringing life, purpose, function, and meaning to all that was inanimate. Where once everything was single, divisions and dualities co-arose to create the world as we know it. Suddenly there was night and day, water and land, sky and underworld, life and death, evil and good, etc. God was the explanation for this order resulting from chaos, and how from an indifferent or unconscious cosmos came caring design and enlightenment. As long as we don't get stuck with the words surrounding the myth, but focus on the meaning behind the myth, a meaning that changes through time for individuals, as well as healthy, thriving societies. The myth can guide us through the experiences of life and help us make sense of that which we will never know for sure. This ancient wisdom of seeing the world and reality this way may come as an epiphany to those of us who are accustomed to looking at things historically and scientifically. We are a culture so absorbed in discovering facts that perhaps we have lost our talent for interpreting them. Or maybe we have lost sight of the importance of imaginatively creating myths that keep us living sustainably and with reasonable harmony. The more we lose our ability to create, nurture, and sustain myths that give an increasingly complex world order, meaning, and value, the more we look out for our own interests and fall back into primordial chaos. This creation story that we heard today is not the truth about exactly how things happened at the dawn of existence, but a truth about how our understanding of the beginning of things informs and edifies our lives. It's a way of understanding how meaning can be applied in a universe that often feels indifferent, and how spirit overcomes substance, and life is so much more than the material reality we see around us. The power of this in every myth is that we can gain insight into what it means to be human and divine. And perhaps these aren't so distant as some of our predecessors imagined. We can learn how to live graciously in our lives because of the meanings revealed within the myth. Myths give us no facts, yet are full of truth. They may not reveal the actual existence of anything, but aid us in experiencing the reality of that which our words and understandings can only suggest. They are not truth themselves, but point the way to truths that help us along the way. No matter how you interpret the story, its validity doesn't lie in whether your reading accords to the facts of the beginnings of the universe, something we may never know, but with its ability to be for you a guide along your life's journey. Even as we conclude this Epiphany season, may we be filled with holy breath and divine love through the same Spirit that swept over the void and overcame obscurity, as this is part of our story.